That pop star, the one who kind of went off the rails a couple years back,
Yeah, yeah.
shaved their head, the whole thing.
Oh, right.
Right, just like a total career implosion.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fascinating to watch, but also kind of sad, right? Like, what happened there? What if, and hear me out on this, what if that wasn't just a celebrity meltdown? What if that was about what happens when we try to, like, dim our own light, to fit in?
I think that's a really insightful way to look at it, because we all have this sort of inner light, right? I mean, that's our talents, our passions, the way we see the world. That's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
And this is but
Right.
the world doesn't always love it when we let that shine, does it? We get pushed to just be normal, whatever that even means.
Yeah, totally. It's like we're all supposed to be these perfect little cookie cutter versions of each other.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What if embracing our authenticity and really just letting our light shine, what if that's not just like some feel-good self-help stuff?
Yeah.
What if there's actual science behind that?
There is. There totally is. Authenticity, it's not just a buzzword.
Right.
It's actually really crucial for both our own well-being and the world around us. And there's research that shows that people who really embrace their true selves, they're happier, less stressed.
So it's not selfish to just be ourselves.
No, not at all.
Like, we should just let our freak flag fly. That's actually healthier.
Think about it this way. I mean, when you're trying to be someone you're not, that's exhausting, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're always second-guessing yourself. You're hiding parts of who you are.
Totally.
It's exhausting.
It's like wearing a mask all the time. No wonder people are stressed out.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting. Authenticity, it's contagious.
Oh, okay.
So when you show up as your authentic self, you actually give other people permission to do the same.
So by being ourselves, we're actually making it easier for others to be themselves too.
Exactly. It's like, think about a workplace where everyone feels safe to share their ideas, even the out there ones, right?
Yeah.
That's where real innovation happens.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or a family. Think about a family where everyone can just be open and honest and vulnerable without fear of being judged.
Right.
That's where you get true connection.
Okay, but let's get real for a second.
Okay.
I mean, the world can be a pretty tough place, right? Sometimes it feels like negativity is just winning everywhere you look.
Yeah.
So how do you stay positive when it feels like you're surrounded by all this darkness,
Well, here's the thing. Positivity, it doesn't mean ignoring the bad stuff.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus on the good, even when it's hard. And it's not just like a nice idea. It literally changes your brain.
Wait, really? How does that even work?
So researchers have found that happiness, it actually spreads through social networks, like a virus, but like a good virus, right? So your good mood, it can actually impact people you don't even know. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. So by choosing to be positive,
Yeah.
we're not just making ourselves feel better, we're actually contributing to like a more positive world overall.
Yeah. And it also makes you more resilient.
Okay.
So when you can find those good things, even in the tough times, you're building up your own strength and inspiring other people around you to do the same.
It's amazing.
It's like a superpower in a world that can feel pretty hopeless sometimes, right?
It really is.
So I guess what we're saying is being positive, it's not naive. It's actually a pretty revolutionary act.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about authenticity, positivity. Now let's move on to something maybe a little more controversial. Creativity.
Okay.
Is it really that important? I mean, isn't that just for, artists and musicians and writers? Like, what about the rest of us?
That's a huge misconception, actually. Neuroscience is showing us that creativity, it's crucial for everyone.
Really?
Not just those, quote unquote artsy types.
Oh, interesting. It's how we solve problems. It's how we innovate. It's even how we keep our minds healthy.
So are you saying that we're all creative, even if we don't realize it?
Absolutely. It's not just about painting or writing music. It's about approaching life with a sense of curiosity and imagination.
Right.
It's about finding new ways to do things, expressing ourselves, just making the world a more interesting place.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
But what if you're stuck? What if you're just in a rut? You go to the same job every day, you're doing the same thing. How do you spark that creativity when it feels like it's gone out?
That's where things get tricky, Because the world we live in, it often rewards conformity over individuality.
Right.
It's easier to just fit in, follow the rules, don't rock the boat.
And we see that all the time, right? People suppressing those unique parts of themselves, their passions, just to avoid standing out.
Yeah.
But you're saying that there's a cost to that. Big time. There's research from Cornell University showing that when we suppress our individuality, it actually leads to anxiety and unhappiness.
Wow.
It's like we're slowly suffocating our own souls just to fit in.
Yeah, it's like those people who are stuck in jobs they hate, but they're too afraid to leave and actually go after what they want.
Exactly. And it doesn't just affect us individually. On a larger scale, that conformity, it actually stifles progress.
Okay.
We need different perspectives, new ideas, people who are willing to challenge the way things are done to solve those big problems, move society forward.
Wow. So if we all just go along with the crowd, we're not just hurting ourselves, we're actually holding back progress as a whole.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to something really crucial. Vulnerability.
Okay.
In a world that always seems to reward, perfection and strength,
Yeah.
being vulnerable can feel terrifying.
It can.
Because vulnerability, it's often seen as a weakness, right? Something to avoid at all costs.
That's the old way of thinking.
Right.
But there's this amazing researcher, Brene Brown. Her work has really turned our understanding of vulnerability on its head.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
She's shown us that vulnerability, it's not weakness at all.
Really?
It's actually the key to real connection,
Yeah.
to living a more meaningful life.
So when we let our guard down, when we let people see us, flaws and all, that actually makes us stronger.
It's counterintuitive, but yes. Vulnerability builds trust, it fosters empathy. It lets us connect with people on a much deeper level.
Yeah.
It's about being real, just being human.
Yeah.
And allowing other people to be the same.
That makes me think about a time when I shared something really personal with a colleague at work.
Yeah.
And it totally changed our relationship for the better.
Of course.
It created this space of understanding and respect.
Absolutely.
That wasn't there before.
It's like you said, when we let people see our true selves, we make space for them to do the same. And that's where the magic happens.
That's so true.
Right. And speaking of powerful emotions, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about gratitude.
Okay.
It's more than just saying thank you, it's a whole shift in how we see things, and it can really have a big impact on how we feel.
Okay. I'm curious, how does gratitude actually work? Is it just about being polite, or is there something deeper going on?
It goes way beyond just manners, trust me. There are studies that actually show that practicing gratitude, it literally changes the structure of our brains.
Right.
Makes us more resilient, happier, healthier, even.
So it's like a brain hack. We can actually rewire ourselves to be happier just by being thankful.
Think of it like this. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you're basically training your brain to look for the good in every situation.
Right.
You're teaching yourself to see the silver lining, even when things are tough.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So how do you practice gratitude? Is it just keeping a gratitude journal, or is there more to it?
That's one way, yeah, but it's more about making gratitude a part of your everyday life,
Okay.
Take a moment each day to just appreciate the little things, like the warmth of the sun on your skin, a good meal, hearing someone you love laugh.
Yeah.
Those little moments, those are actually the things that make up a happy life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a second. Life isn't, always sunshine and roses.
Right.
What about those times when you're facing real challenges, and it feels like everything's falling apart? Mm-hmm. Can gratitude really help then?
That's actually when it becomes even more important.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to be grateful when things are good.
Right.
But it's in those dark times, that's when gratitude becomes like a lifeline.
So it's like a muscle you have to build.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets, and then you're better able to handle those tough times when they come.
Exactly. It's not magic, right? It's a practice. It's a choice to focus on the good even when it feels impossible.
Right.
And that choice, that's what builds real resilience.
Wow. I love that.
Right.
Gratitude as a source of strength.
Mm.
Okay, so we've talked about authenticity, positivity, creativity, vulnerability, gratitude.
We've covered a lot.
What's next on our journey to letting our light shine?
Well, let's talk about something that often gets a bad rap, and that's optimism.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's about being, naive or unrealistic.
Right.
But true optimism, it's much deeper than that.
So you're saying it's not just about putting on a happy face and pretending like everything's perfect.
Not at all.
Okay.
Optimism is about choosing to see the possibilities, even when you're facing challenges.
Okay.
It's about believing that things can get better, that we have the power to make a difference.
So it's about hope.
Hope is a part of it, yeah, but it's more than just, hoping for the best. It's about taking action. Optimists, they don't just sit around waiting for good things to happen. They go out and make them happen.
Right. It makes me think of all those people who have overcome incredible obstacles. Like they faced adversity and came out stronger.
Right.
They didn't just wish for a better life. They went out and created it.
And the research actually shows that optimists are more likely to achieve their goals.
Really?
Yeah. They recover from setbacks faster. They even live longer, healthier lives.
Wait, are you telling me that being optimistic can actually make you healthier?
It's true. When you have that positive outlook, you're less stressed, you tend to make healthier choices.
Right.
And you're more likely to bounce back from those setbacks.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's like optimism is a shield, protecting you from the negative effects of all the stress and the tough stuff that life throws at you.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm officially on board with this whole optimism thing.
Good.
But let's be honest. There are times when it feels like, the world is going crazy.
Like, how do you stay optimistic when you're surrounded by so much negativity and chaos?
That's when you need to cultivate your inner rebel.
My inner rebel.
Yeah. It's about having the audacity to believe in a better future, even when everyone else is telling you it's impossible.
So it's about being a contrarian, a nonconformist, like a rebel with a cause.
Think of it as a radical act of hope. When you choose optimism, you're choosing to believe in humanity, in our ability to overcome challenges and make the world a better place.
That's a powerful thought.
It is, right?
Okay, but let's get practical for a second.
Okay.
How do we actually cultivate that rebellious optimism?
It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts.
Folks.
Are you focusing on the negative all the time? Dwelling on problems?
Yeah.
Expecting the worst? Or are you looking for solutions? Celebrating those little wins? Believing in the possibility of a brighter future?
So it's about being mindful of that internal dialogue and choosing to focus on the positive, even when it's hard. Exactly. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who lift you up, who also believe in that possibility.
Yeah, create your own little ecosystem of optimism.
Exactly.
What about those people who are like, oh, you're just being naive? How do you respond to that?
I'll tell you a secret. Being naive is believing that everything will be okay without actually doing anything about it.
Right.
Optimism is believing things can get better and then actually doing something to make it happen.
So it's not about ignoring the problems. It's about acknowledging them and then choosing to focus on the solutions.
That's it. Optimists, they're not afraid of challenges. They embrace them. They see obstacles as opportunities for growth and innovation.
Okay, I love this. This is great.
Right.
But I know that for some people, this idea of being optimistic, especially when things are really tough, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's struggling to find that spark of hope?
Start small. You don't have to solve all the world's problems overnight. Choose one area of your life where you want to see things get better and focus on cultivating optimism in that area.
So break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. And celebrate those small wins along the way.
Right.
Every step forward, no matter how small, it's a victory.
Yeah.
And it's worth celebrating.
I love that. It's about acknowledging the progress that we're making and giving ourselves credit for the effort.
Yeah.
So we've talked about authenticity, positivity, creativity, vulnerability, gratitude, and optimism.
Wow, we have.
Are we missing anything? What's the final piece of the puzzle when it comes to letting our light shine?
Let's talk about something that often gets overlooked, and that's courage.
Courage. What does that have to do with letting our light shine?
It takes courage to be yourself, to stand out from the crowd, to go after your dreams, to speak your truth, to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It takes courage to shine your light brightly in a world that often tries to dim it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's easy to play it safe, Blend in, don't make waves. But real authenticity, it requires a certain boldness, a willingness to embrace the unknown, to risk being seen.
And that can be scary.
It can be.
Right.
But here's the thing. Courage, it's not the absence of fear.
Right.
It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Okay.
It's about taking that leap of faith, even when you're not sure where you'll land.
So it's about embracing the discomfort, the uncertainty, the vulnerability that comes with stepping outside of our comfort zones.
Exactly. And here's the beautiful thing about courage. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes.
Right.
Every time you face your fears, you build those courage muscles.
So it's like a skill
It is.
you can actually develop.
Absolutely.
Okay, so some people are just naturally more courageous than others.
Not necessarily
Okay.
courage. It's not a personality trait.
Okay.
It's a skill, like I said, and it can be developed.
Yeah.
It's like any other muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So how do we start building those courage muscles?
Start small.
Okay.
Identify something you're afraid of, something that makes you uncomfortable, and take a small step towards it.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as simple as speaking up in a meeting, or sharing your creative work with someone, or saying no to something you don't want to do.
So pushing ourselves outside our comfort zone, but in a way that feels manageable, not
Exactly.
overwhelming.
Right. And as you start to experience those little wins, you realize that you're capable of facing your fears,
All right.
and your courage grows.
Okay, but what about when we fall flat on our faces? We try to be courageous and it doesn't go as planned.
That's when self-compassion comes in.
Yes, self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that before.
I have.
But it's so important, especially when we're talking about courage and taking risks,
It is.
because we're going to make mistakes, right?
Of course, we all.
We're going to have setbacks.
That's part of life.
But it's how we respond to those challenges that really matters.
Exactly. When we beat ourselves up for our mistakes, we're only making things harder on ourselves.
So it's about being kind to ourselves, acknowledging that we're human, and allowing ourselves to learn and grow from those experiences.
That's it.
I love that.
Self-compassion, it's the key to resilience.
Okay.
It's what allows us to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and try again.
Yeah, with that renewed sense of hope
Exactly.
and determination.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great advice. And it's a reminder that courage, it can be contagious.
It can.
When we show up courageously, it inspires others to do the same.
Absolutely.
And so we create this ripple effect of bravery and authenticity.
And that can change the world.
Wow, that's really powerful. So we've covered so much today: authenticity, positivity, creativity, vulnerability, gratitude, optimism, and courage.
A lot.
It feels like we've explored all these essential ingredients for living a truly fulfilling life.
And the beautiful thing is, all of those qualities, they're not separate.
Right.
They work together.
Right.
They reinforce and amplify each other.
So the more authentic we are, the more positive we become. The more positive we are, the more creative we become. The more creative we are, the more courageous we become.
Exactly. It's like this upward spiral, this beautiful cycle of growth and transformation.
I love that imagery.
Right.
It's like we're all on this journey of self-discovery.
Right.
And we're constantly evolving and expanding our capacity for joy, for fulfillment, for impact.
And it's not about reaching some kind of perfect end state.
Right.
It's about the journey itself.
Yeah.
That ongoing process of learning and growing and becoming more of who we truly are.
Okay, I'm feeling so inspired right now, but I know that some people listening might be feeling a little overwhelmed. Like, where do we even begin? How do we actually put all of this into practice in our daily lives?
That's a great question. And the good news is, it doesn't have to be complicated. Start small. Choose one area where you want to focus and just commit to taking one small action each day.
So instead of trying to change everything at once, it's about making those small, consistent changes.
Yes, small changes that will lead to big results over time.
Right.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things, see what works for you, and adjust course as you go.
I love that. It's about embracing the journey, trusting the process, and knowing that it's okay to make mistakes and learn as we go. So we've talked about, all the theory, the science, the why behind letting our light shine.
Yeah.
But let's get practical. Like, what can people actually do? What are some tangible steps to start embracing that authenticity and really making a difference?
Well, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is to cultivate self-awareness.
Okay.
Really understand who you are at your core.
Right.
What are your values, your passions? What are you good at? What are you, not so good at?
So it's about taking the time to really get to know ourselves, like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process, right?
Right.
We're always evolving, so it's important to check in with ourselves regularly and, make sure we're still aligned with who we want to be.
But what if you realize you don't like who you are? What if you discover some things about yourself that you're not, not so proud of?
That's where that self-compassion comes in, remember?
Right.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We're all works in progress.
Right.
Right? We all have things we want to improve about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to approach those areas with kindness and understanding,
Okay.
not judgment and criticism.
So it's about accepting ourselves where we are right now.
Yes.
But also striving to become better,
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a practical tip. Start a journal.
Okay.
Write down your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, your fears.
Yeah.
Even it's a really powerful way to connect with yourself.
Right.
And to gain clarity on who you are and what you want.
Okay, I'm adding start a journal to my to-do list right now.
Good.
But what about those people who say they don't have time for that? They're too busy with work, with family, with life,
Here's the thing. Self-care. It's not selfish.
Right.
It's essential. If you're not taking care of yourself, you can't show up for anyone else.
It's like that oxygen mask on the airplane thing, right?
Yeah.
You have to put on your own mask first
Exactly.
before you can help anyone else.
And self-awareness, that's a form of self-care.
Okay.
It's about prioritizing your well-being so that you can show up as your best self
Yeah, I like that.
in all areas of your life.
Okay, so we've talked about self-awareness. What's the next step? How do we take that self-awareness and turn it into action?
Start setting boundaries.
Okay.
This is especially important for people who, tend to be people pleasers.
Right.
Who always put everyone else's needs before their own.
Yeah, but boundaries can be tough, can't they? Especially
Yeah.
if you're worried about letting people down or causing conflict.
They can be, it can be uncomfortable at first, but it's crucial, for protecting your energy and your well-being.
Right.
Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. If you're constantly giving without taking care of yourself, you're going to burn out eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And boundaries are a way of saying, hey, I value myself, I respect my time and my energy, and I'm not going to let people take advantage of me.
Okay, but how do you actually set those boundaries? Like, where do you even begin?
Start by noticing those areas of your life where you feel resentful or overwhelmed or taken advantage of.
Okay.
What are the things that just drain your energy? What are the things that you're always saying yes to,
Right.
even when you don't wanna?
So pay attention to those red flags, those moments when you feel like your boundaries are being crossed.
Exactly. And once you've identified those areas, start setting some clear boundaries. Could be something as simple as saying no to a request. Or delegating a task, or just setting aside time for yourself.
But what if people get upset when you start doing that? What if they try to guilt you into doing things that you don't want to do?
That's where assertiveness comes in.
Okay.
Remember, you have the right to protect your time and your energy.
Right.
You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to apologize.
Okay.
Just set those boundaries.
So be firm, be clear about what you're willing and not willing to do, and no need to justify yourself.
Exactly. And here's a practical tip. Practice saying no.
Okay.
It can feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
I love that.
Right?
It's about reclaiming our power and choosing to spend our time and energy on the things that really matter to us.
Yes. And speaking of spending our time and energy wisely, let's talk about passions.
Yes. Passions.
Right. Those things that light us up, that make us feel alive.
What if you don't know what your passions are?
That's where exploration comes in. Try new things, experiment, step outside that comfort zone.
Right.
You never know what might spark your interest.
So be curious. Approach life with a sense of adventure. Be open to new experiences.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just part of the process.
Right. It's how we learn.
Exactly.
Okay, what if you're afraid of what other people will think? You're worried about being judged or ridiculed for pursuing your passions.
That's where that courage comes in again.
Right.
Remember, it takes courage to be yourself, to go after your dreams, to let your light shine.
So let go of that need for approval from other people
Yes,
and focus on what really matters to us.
exactly. And here's another practical tip. Surround yourself with supportive people.
Okay.
People who believe in you
Yeah.
and encourage you to follow those passions.
It's like building your own little cheerleading squad. A group of people who are there to celebrate you, to support you, to remind you of how awesome you are.
And you can be that cheerleader for other people too.
Oh, I love that. It's a reminder that we're all in this together.
We are.
And we can support each other and shine our lights collectively.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I know you have a challenge for our listeners.
I do. I challenge you to take one small step today
Okay.
to embrace your authenticity and let your light shine a little brighter.
That's a beautiful challenge.
It is.
But what are some concrete examples of small steps people can take?
Oh, it could be anything. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Tell someone you appreciate them. Spend 15 minutes doing something you love. Set a boundary. Say no to something you don't want to do. Wear an outfit that makes you feel confident. Share your creative work with someone. The possibilities are endless.
I love that. It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small.
Yes, we do.
Okay, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much. I feel so inspired. I feel empowered to go out there and let my light shine. And all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you.
Remember, you are worthy, you are capable, and you are powerful. Now go out there and make the world a more beautiful place.